So, clearly there was no video last week because your boy got sick with COVID, and it could have been a lot worse, honestly. It wasn't that bad, but 0 out of 10. Do not recommend getting sick because it was still not fun to just sit there being tired for days, right? Not fun. But clearly I'm a lot better now. I do have a cough, so you might hear that. You might hear some grossness in this video. We'll see. But I am pretty much well enough to film a video, so we're going to be talking about episodes 3 and 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. But before we get into that, what is up, my dudes, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? I am One Creative Ginger, and in this house we have incoherent rants about movies, TV shows, and anything fandom related, all while just in cosplay. So like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. So of course we're going to be starting with episode 3, which starts off with a water farmer asking Boba and Fennec to take care of these cyborg teens that have been stealing his rather overpriced water. But instead of doing anything, Boba actually ends up offering these cyborg kids a job, and they're just like, alright, let's do it. Which is just such a great thing. I love that he's just recruiting every single person he can find. He just doesn't care. He's like, you know what? You're working for me. And everyone's just like, alright, let's do that. I'm honestly loving that. It's great. So then we get another flashback of Boba leaving his Tusken family to go negotiate with the Pikes about paying the Tuskens for passage through the Dune Sea, because that's their land. But the Pikes tell him that they're already paying the Sand Riders for passage. And Boba's like, well, that's not happening. So he goes back to the Tuskens, but finds out that the Sand Raiders have already killed his new family because, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Because first, it was Jango, and now the Tuskens, like, I swear to God, Star Wars does not want to give Boba, like, any kind of family, because they just kill off any family members that he ends up getting immediately. Like, we don't have time to really just process what's going on. Like, it's just, I don't like that. But that flashback ends up cutting off, like, immediately, because he's woken up by Black Chrysanthemum, which is the big ol' Wookiee that we saw in the last episode that was with the Hutts, right? He shows up, and he just pulls Boba out of the Bacta tank and just starts trying to kick his ass, or probably more accurately kill him, because that's probably why he was sent there. And so they fight, and Boba can really hold his own against a Wookiee. Like, that's not something humans can do or clones can do in this case. You know, that's, you don't see that every day. So the fact that he was holding his own against a Wookiee, of all creatures, that's pretty impressive. Like, he's got the build for it too. Like, I really like that he's not, like, ripped or anything, because his physique is a lot more realistic, honestly, because, abs, big muscles, that's not realistic. Not a lot of people have that, and we've seen in the Clone Wars, the clones are not ripped. They are pretty, sturdy. They have to be, so he's gonna be the same way, considering he's a clone, right? But, I like how he's built. He's built very muscular and sturdy enough to go against a Wookiee, for example. So I really enjoyed that. Honestly, that whole fight with Chrysanthemum was just insane, because first it was Boba, and then everyone else started dogpiling on him. Like, the cyborg kids were actually pretty good. Like, they knew what they were doing. And then the Gamorreans just tackling him, and then all 3 of them just rolling down the stairs was insane. And then Fennec actually, ends up stepping in and trapping Chrysanthemum into the Rancor pit, which was pretty smart on her part. Like, yeah, that's a good way to contain a Wookiee. But yeah, like, that's how they end up beating him, which was pretty interesting. And something sweet, like, one of the Gamorreans gets pretty injured. Like, I think he gets bitten on the shoulder or something by Chrysanthemum. And like Boba sees that and he's like, go put him in my bacta tank. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. You know, working for Boba Fett seems to be a good deal, you know, because he actually cares, which is very nice and very smart on his part too. You don't want to be making enemies out of your allies, right? That was smart of him. So, after all that, the Hutts end up showing up and they apologize to Boba for sending Chrysanthemum to kill him. And they end up giving him a Rancor and a peace offering. And then they said that they're getting off of Tatooine because they don't want to go to war with a certain syndicate. And they suggest that Boba should do the same. Although Boba's kind of just like, I think you're full of shit, right? So he doesn't, obviously. So, Boba ends up letting Chrysanthemum go. Just because, you know, doesn't offer him a job or anything, which I thought was weird because that's what he's been doing this whole time. But to be fair, Chrysanthemum did try to kill him. So he might not be too willing to offer him a job just yet, you know. So that happens, and then we end up getting to see him interact with a Rancor, and he just ends up, like, petting it and making friends with it, and it's so cute to see because it's adorable. And we also get to see, again, like we saw it with the Tuskens, we got to see them humanized. It's really fun to see that also Rancors, they're pretty loving, sweet creatures. I mean, to be fair, we kind of saw a little bit of that in the Bad Batch, but to be fair, like, Wrecker had to fight Moochie for dominance, so there was that, but like, she was pretty nice after that. So it's just like, we have seen Rancors a little bit, you know, like they aren't just these crazy bloodthirsty monsters. They're actually really sweet. And like, hell, the handler was even like, yeah, she, I'm not sure. The Rancor is depressed and shit, and Boba's just like, huh, I didn't know they could feel that. And yeah, and then the guy's just like, yeah, they can. They're very emotional creatures. So I hope we see more of that, because that's pretty damn interesting. I just hope he ends up riding it around like he wants to. Like, that'd be hella dope, having Boba Fett riding around on a Rancor. Like, hell yeah. I hope we see that. Yeah, so then Boba and Fennec try to meet the mayor because they have some questions for him, right? But of course, he's not there. Who the hell knows where he is? But, this bitch right here ends up running away on a speeder, and yeah, we all know what happens. Of course, the slowest speeder chase I've ever seen ensues. Like, it's, why was it so slow? I don't understand. You literally could have just sped up the footage and it would have looked a lot better. Like, it looked so bad. But I am pretty split on, like, the colorful bikes, because a lot of people were bitching about it and saying, like, they look very out of place, which, to be fair, they do look very out of place on Tatooine. Like, I don't know how the hell they're so shiny, because, like, wouldn't they be sandblasted to hell on a sand planet, for one? It doesn't make any sense. I think it would if, like, we actually saw them maintaining the bikes. But we never see that. We always just see them standing around and not really doing anything with the bikes, and the bikes are just sitting there. But they did look good. Like, they did look like a Star Wars vehicle, because some people were bitching about how it doesn't. It does. It looks like something you'd find on Coruscant, not Tatooine, but it does look like a Star Wars vehicle. It's just not on the right planet. Yeah, so the episode ends with them catching the dude and him telling, oh yeah, the mayor's with the Pikes now. Have fun with that. And then it just ends with a bunch of Pikes coming to Tatooine on ships because, you know, they're totally not starting a war or anything. That's not gonna happen, right? So, of course, moving on to episode 4, we actually start with a flashback for once. And we actually get to see Boba saving Fennec and bringing her to the place where the people actually do get the cybernetic modifications. And man, I don't know what their goal is with these cybernetic people, but the scenes they're in are awful. Like, this scene in particular, when the guy is putting all the cybernetics into Fennec so she doesn't die, you know, it was bad. It was so bad. I don't know why they keep fucking it up, but like the music, for one, was not Star Wars. It was very techno, wasn't doing it, you know? It did not fit the vibe. And the transitions between different shots and scenes, whew, it was not there either. It was bad. And to top it all off, the whole damn thing just took way too long. Like, I don't know what they were doing. Like, all they needed to do was, like, shorten it and change the music. Like, they did not need to focus so much on the prosthetics in her. Like, you literally just could have been, like, you literally could have just had the guy with the little cybernetic thing that was working on her. You could have had him, and then you could have, like, panned to Boba as, like, he's working, and then, like, you could have panned back, and then you could have seen, like, him putting the final touches in there. Like, we didn't need to see the whole process, like, you know? It's just, like, it felt like they were trying to fill time. And I wasn't a fan of that. Like, yeah, you can... it was a bad scene. And I don't know why, but, like, the two worst scenes in these 2 episodes have involved the cybernetic people. Like, I don't know, like, they're trying to introduce these characters and trying to get us to be like, what are these people? But they give them the worst scenes to shine, essentially, to explain more about them and show more of them. They're not the they're not the best scenes. They end up being the worst scenes of each episode. So I don't know what their goal is with these characters, because they're not bad. Again, I like them. They've just had the worst scenes to showcase them. And the worst part is, like, they could have fixed those scenes very easily. Like, there were very small changes they could have done, very quick, in some cases, changes that they could have done to make it a lot better. But, like, it's not the character's fault. It's just the way those scenes were filmed, and the cinematography to go with it was just ass. And unfortunately, those characters were in it, and so, you know, they kind of have to pay the price for that, because that's what happens. So, moving on from that, we then get to see Fennec help Boba get his ship back from Jabba's palace, which, at this time, because this is still a flashback, you know, it's being run by Bib Fortuna. Still. So, of course, they infiltrate, and they get it back, and so now they have a ship. And Boba, the first thing he does with it, he immediately uses it to kill every last one of those sandbiker gang dickheads that murdered his Tusken family. Like, that whole scene was delicious revenge, and it was great. And it was a great scene too, because you just see the ship all the way in the background. It just slowly comes in and just wastes them all, and it was just perfect. I loved it. Because, yeah, he didn't really get to have revenge for his father, because, you know, Mace was killed by Palpatine, I'm pretty sure. So he never got to kill Mace, which is what he tried to do in the Clone Wars. That didn't work out for him very well, as we saw. So it was like, it was nice. He got to have some nice, delicious revenge, finally, for someone murdering some form of his family, right? It was great. So after that, they end up going to the Sarlacc pit to look for Boba's armor, apparently, which, honestly, I think is a little weird, because, you think he would remember escaping with it on? Like, it doesn't make sense. He goes through the sand with it on. I guess he doesn't remember? Maybe he had some memory loss, but, like, wouldn't you, like, put 2 and 2 together and be like, well, obviously, you know, I used the armor to get out of there, and it did protect him. Like, Fennec says, yeah, the first time you were in there, your armor protected you, because he tries to go back in. So, it's weird that he thought it was inside the Sarlacc, but he was able to escape on his own. So, I don't know. I can't follow his logic with that, because that was a little weird. So, yeah, that was weird. But they end up blowing up the Sarlacc because it tried to eat the ship. And them with it, you know? So, you have to blow him blow him up, obviously. Yeah, so, apparently during that whole Sarlacc debacle, Boba says that he escaped the Sarlacc pit, like, years ago? So it's been at least like 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. We don't know. So like he's been with the Tuskens for like years. So like when they're killed, it's not just like he was with them for a few months and now they're dead. He was with them for a few years. So that's a thing too. So then Boba ends up talking to Fennec about being tired of doing other people's dirty work and tired of being a bounty hunter and wants to be the one calling the shots, which honestly makes sense because, you know, Boba almost died in a Sarlacc pit doing bounty hunter work. That would put a damper on wanting to be a bounty hunter, you know? You'd be like, yeah, let's do something else. Let's have a slight career change because, you know, he still wants to be in the crime arena, you know, like he wants to still be a part of that culture, just not getting shafted repeatedly by being a bounty hunter, you know? Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, so like that's basically where the flashback ends, because then we see Chrysanthemum at the Twi'lek bar with all the sexy Twi'leks, you know? Good shit. But yeah, in the scene we see him beating the absolute shit out of some Trandoshans, and we all know why, you know? And of course, the absolutely gorgeously stunning woman, she appears, and she ends up talking Chrysanthemum down because, or at least a bit, you know, because he's trying to kill the Trandoshans, you know? But, you know, she somewhat talks him down in her gorgeous outfit. I'm so glad she had a costume change because, woo, she looked good in white, especially when it's all sparkly too, because like, goddamn, I don't know how she exists, because like, that is good shit. Yeah, adding her to the show, 10 out of 10. Yeah, when I saw her, I was like, speechless, honestly, like, but yeah, so, getting back to the point, she does end up talking Chrysanthemum down somewhat, so like he doesn't go on a killing rampage, right? But, you know, he ends up leaving, and of course Boba witnesses the whole thing, so he goes after Chrysanthemum, and then finally offers him a job. I'm surprised, you know, it took an episode, but like, he does offer him a job, which is what we'd expect from Boba Fett, like, come on. Which is probably a good idea, too, because, like, Chrysanthemum can throw down, as we have seen. Then we see Boba having dinner with some of the heads of the crime families in Mos Espa, because, like, there's a few of them that took over after Jabba was killed, and he asked them to either join him or remain neutral in the war against the Pikes, because, yeah, it's happening. And then they all say that they're gonna remain neutral, but we'll see. Boba thinks that they're not gonna, like, side with the Pikes at all, but, like, I don't know about that. I think he's being a little too optimistic, but we'll see. Maybe they do keep their word. We don't know. Yeah, so then, this episode ends with Boba and Fennec discussing how they're gonna find some muscle to help them fight the Pikes. And the goddamn Mandalorian theme song starts playing right after they say that. And we all know who's gonna show up. We all know. And then that's how the episode ends. Honestly, my favorite thing about the show so far has to be Boba making friends or allies with, like, every single person or creature he comes across. Like, it's so cute. And I'm living for it. It's awesome. I do like what they're doing with his character. It is very on point with who he is. And who he is a clone, just not as brainwashed, but, like, he does value loyalty above all else, as we have seen. And that's a very clone thing to do, you know? So it's nice. It's nice that he's gaining the respect of the people that are going to protect him, protect his life, you know? It's a smart thing, and I'm glad he's doing that. And that's not him going soft or anything, or it's not in character. It is. Like, let's be real. I do hope that we get to see more of him training and interacting with his new Rancor buddy. Because that scene of him petting it was the cutest thing ever. Oh my god, I want more of that, you know? Again, the cybernetic people, they're fine. They didn't ruin anything. Let's chill the fuck out. They just had some really crappily edited scenes, you know? Like, that's the only crime they've really committed, you know? They were just in some bad scenes. At the core, they're not that bad of a character. They're just kind of out of place a little bit. At least the speeder bikes were out of place, but like the cyborg aesthetic, not really. Like, that's a thing in Star Wars. It's a very prominent thing. Like, I mean, for one, Vader's mostly cybernetics, and Luke had a robotic arm too, and like in the Clone Wars, there's so many characters that have cybernetics, like Maul Savage and Echo for one. Those are characters that, off the top of my head, I can think of. And Anakin too, like he's got his robot hand too, like, you know, cybernetics are very prominent in the Star Wars universe. They just look a little different in this one. Which is fine. Like, they don't look that out of place. And, like, yeah, their speeder bikes, they were more of a thing you'd see on Coruscant than Tatooine. They're pretty interesting characters, and I think they'll hopefully be better. Hopefully have some better scenes. Because, like, for one, the scene where they're fighting Chrysanthemum was not bad. Like, it was fine. Like they looked fine. It's just, yeah, they have some bad scenes associated with them. Which does suck, because yeah, they're not that bad. Really, the only criticism I have about this show is, like, the editing and the cinematography can be off a little bit sometimes. Like, again, there have been scenes that were bad, and they could have been fixed quite easily. So I don't know why no one fixed them, but, you know, it's just, that's the only problem I have. Like, I did get confused with the whole Sarlacc scene. That was a little confusing about the whole, like, it's been years since Boba's been back to the pit, or like him losing the armor and thinking it's in the Sarlacc even though he used it to get out. I don't know why he don't remember that, but maybe that's just me, because I am still a little tired from being sick, right? And I do get confused easily too, so there is that. So it might just be me why I was confused about that scene, but the story is fine. I've been enjoying it, and what they've been doing with Boba Fett's character has been really fun. Like, this is pretty on point for what we've seen with Boba Fett's character so far. Like, it's pretty accurate what they're doing with him. Like, yeah, I can believe that he'd want to do that. Not want to be a bounty hunter and rather be like a crime lord. That sounds more fun, personally, especially after you escaped a Sarlacc pit. But yeah. So that's basically all I have to say about chapters 3 and 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. If you guys have any thoughts and feelings about this, share all that good shit in the comments down below. If you're interested in following me on other social media, I post art and cosplay related content on my Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, if you'd like to get weird with me. So if you enjoyed this video, why not like, subscribe, and smack that bell if you'd like to see more of my face every Saturday when I post a new video. And don't forget to stay sparkly, my dudes!